First of all, wow, it's always a pleasure to see all these incredible faces that we've all known over the years and some new ones, and welcoming again into this incredible community that we have, the UZIT community. Today's all about Marcia Miller, celebrating her, but also learning from her in, I think, a subject that I feel like she's an expert in for a number of reasons. But first of all, let me just say, Marcia, you're a dedicated yogi, you're a mother, you're a partner, you're an extraordinary friend and community teacher. But we're going to talk about something really important tonight, and that is grief.
So, as Rodney mentioned, I have lost children, actually, multiple daughters, one a year and a half after the other one. And I was a young yogi at that point, and it did not fit in with how I thought life would be at that point, my 20s. And I had practices that were not helping me. I did not have the community I needed.
It sounds like you also practice listening without actually making any suggestions. Tell us a little bit more about that side of it. So there's these impulses I know we all have when we're listening to someone. There's a lot of impulse. I like to talk, so there's a lot of impulse for me to respond and talk and
Yep.
add story. How do we deal with that silence, that awkwardness? How do we, as the practitioner, how do we deal with when to respond and what might actually be appropriate?
What I've learned over my years of working with clients and with Reiki, especially, is that whatever ideas I have for someone else are always second best. And the first best is their own ideas. Maybe ask permission. Would you like to hear a story from me?
When you said you were broken completely, like, were there actual body centers of that pain, or did it just move around? Or give us some
Yeah.
feeling about that.
Nobody told me how much I would hurt physically. Like I expected to be emotionally hurt, but my body hurt.
Could you give us a sense of how much time that was? Um,
Yeah.
and do you get a sense that time is a part of any of this, or do we need to talk about time? Because I know when I've been in grief, it just feels like it's never going to end.
Here's what I think I know about that. And I'm saying it that way because it's probably very different for everybody.
It reminds me so that we probably landed really well in the use it methodology, because this whole idea of bearing witness and this whole
Yes.
idea of not trying to be better, but really listening to what is, and not only to the physical body, but the emotional and intellectual body, to see things as they are.
He made us talk about our fears. I remember he 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 looked at me and asked me about why I'd invited made, kind of invited me to talk in front of the whole group. And he got me to say I was really afraid that my second child was going to die also.
It was very different than later on, because now you have this strong community.
Yes.
You feel like the deaths you've been through more recently just had more ease to it because of that. Talk about that a little bit more.
And I could be myself. I didn't have to be okay. So I would walk into the studio and people would say, "How are you today?" And I would say, "I'm everything." Parts of me are really good. Parts of me are so sad about Martha. Parts of me are so glad I've had her in my life. I still have her in my life. Like it was a space and a community that was big enough to hold all the complexity of feelings that one feels when one of their best friends is dying.
Grief is this sort of amorphous, huge subject that seems like it turns all color to gray. But since you've had, and you're an unusual case, I think, the death of children, your children, the death of your husband, and also the death of your good friends. Is there any difference in these grievings for these people that represent different aspects to you? Is there a marketable difference between friends, family, children?
I don't, I'm not sure. Here's what I would say that the difference is. I still miss Martha every day. I have her picture up right here. Actually, hold on. This is such a good picture. You're in it too, Rodney. It's by my desk. Can you guys see that?
Wow. Once we were young too.
We were young. Like, we have really loved each other well. Am I have a belief that forgiveness is a good thing, and I am never going to push myself to forgive anybody before it's time to forgive them. So when my first husband died, I was so angry with him.
I'd like to come back to the breath a little bit because it's one of our big practices of UZIT. And tell me how your breath practices tied in with all these times where you had to deal with immense grief. How can all this be tools to help us, lift this huge cloud, or to accept it, or to be with it more deeply, to heal us? How are we going to move through this? It doesn't feel like a nice, neat structure. So even though I like this amorphous feeling of respect and listening, bearing witness, I also sometimes want someone to tell me like, uh, get up today, like forget it. People really go through these times where it doesn't seem like there's light at the end of the tunnel. What does get you through those nights? What does get you through those days that are just really, I can only imagine, unbearable? I mean, they're not bearable. They're not okay. They're treacherous. They're horrible. What what is the thing that is saving you at that moment?
Is we can't do it alone. So it's not anything that I can do, but it's people in my life who will check up on me, who will come be with me, who will send me notes, send me texts, come visit. Even if I say don't come, they just know. They know me well enough to know, yeah, she said didn't come, but I know she needs food.
I have watched Marcia decades now show up in the way that she's talking about, so in such a committed and compassionate way. And I I was the other thing that so I just want to say I'm grateful. And I'm sure I'm voicing everyone's response to your sharing in this way.